Hey everyone, it's Amy. G.I. Joe is one of my favorite things. There's just something about the vibe and tone of those old Hasbro cartoons like Transformers.
Here, Spike, compute quickly.
And Jim and the Holograms. Even though I didn't really get into them until a little bit later in life when they came on the Hub network actually, which I miss so much. There's still something very important and nostalgic about these cartoons for me. I think they just emanate that nostalgic vibe even if you're not necessarily nostalgic for it. It's definitely a very particular bygone era, you know? Despite G.I. Joe being essentially military superheroes, it's probably the least queer of all of those shows. So I thought I would do the logical thing and go through most of the cast of characters and rank them on whether or not they would or wouldn't support trans people. Also, to set things straight, before I get into comments that are like, you didn't talk about such and such character, I'm not going to go through every single G.I. Joe character, just most of the main ones. So don't get upset at me if you don't see your personal favorite characters like Radio Shack or the Rednecks. Breaker. It's very possible, but I think he'd be too busy to listen to anything that you have to tell him. Clutch. Not at all. Also, his description is he regularly keeps an unshaven appearance and even fancies himself as a ladies' man. The typical chauvinist who sometimes annoys some of his teammates. So he's probably just like not a great person. Grunt. His name is Grunt. He is not real. Hawk. Probably not, unfortunately. You'd never really know for sure, but he would secretly donate his funds to anti-groups. Rock and Roll. I'm sorry, but he just looks like a peak bigot. Scarlet. Absolutely without a doubt. She would honestly go to parades and donate to organizations and just do all of the good stuff. I believe in her. Snake Eyes. He can't say trans rights, but his actions would speak louder than words. He'd be right there with Scarlet, honestly, supporting everything that he can. Sergeant Stalker. It's possible. Nothing to really say about him. It's just a guy. Steeler. He'd very casually say trans rights, but he would never mean it. Zap. I've never seen him in my life. I don't get good vibes. Ace. His name is Ace, so maybe? Covergirl. I'd like to think so, but it's really hard to say. She would go to queer clubs, but you'd never know if it's to actually be an ally or just to quote-unquote keep an eye on them. Doc. He'd probably wear a t-shirt, but nothing more than that. Duke. He would, but he would constantly make honest mistakes. He would never remember how pronouns were. He would say things like, "Excuse me, her pronouns are he, him." Gung-ho. He's gay, but he doesn't agree with trans people. Snow Job. Fuck, Snow Job. He's never even heard of such a thing. Torpedo. He has other priorities. Wild Bill. He's one of those bigots that's surprisingly nice, just do not ask him his opinion on anything. Blowtorch. Who? Deep Six. He has a lot of hate in his heart. Mutt. He wouldn't, but his dog would. Ripcord. It's possible. I'd like to think so because he was played by Marlon Wayans in the movie and he's funny. I don't know his takes, but I'm not gonna look him up, honestly. Roadblock. He would. He'd constantly forget about your pronouns and never understand non-binary people, though. Spirit. He definitely would. Barbecue. He believes in electroshock conversion therapy. Bazooka. If you tell him anything at all, he'll just go, "What?" Like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Flint. He'd pretend to support to stay on everyone's good side, but secretly he hates everyone. Like actually everyone. Frostbite. He's too nice and unassuming to think he wouldn't support you, but you never know. He's like the Richard Karn of the group. Lady J. She would for sure. A lot of her friends are trans. Quick Kick. There's no fucking way this is a real character. What? Oh god. Sergeant Slaughter. Even though I never liked his inclusion in the show itself, he kind of like ruined a lot. He took the spotlight from Duke and like all the other main characters. It was a weird era. This is a real life human. I can't find anything outwardly negative about him, like the person itself, but here he is on a trans wrestler's Instagram after meeting him, so that's cute. Shipwreck. He definitely would. I don't like to headcanon, but he's probably trans. Beachhead. I don't trust him. Claymore. He reminds me of someone, and I don't want to say it, but I don't like it. Cross country. He's too busy talking about his awful day to care about minorities. Leatherneck. Nope. Sci-fi. He always looks to the future, and he's putting a lot of faith in the youths. I think he would. Chuckles. Absolutely not. Are you kidding? Storm Shadow. He's never even heard of such a thing. It sounds like a weakness to him. General Flag. He's actively trying to get very bad laws passed. General Joseph Colton. He's very old school, for better or worse. Stone. He's played by Brendan Fraser in the movie, so I can only assume yes, because he just seems like one of the top 10 coolest dudes. There's also this weird scene where, like, apparently during the filming, they didn't have Brendan on set for all of it, because I think he was like a after the fact thing, because it's the same director as The Mummy. So they have this shot of him when he first appears where he's pulling up on like an ATV, and he's like not the right scale at all. And where he's just like green screened in. It's so funny. Jinx. I think she would be too busy focused on like training and things like that to realize what's happening around her. Law and Order. He would, but his dog wouldn't. Mercer. I have no opinion on him whatsoever, or take, or anything, but I'm just putting him here because his screen chat makes me uncomfortable. Zartan. He thinks trans people work exactly like he does and aren't special, and are actually inferior in their skill set compared to his. Thrasher. He thinks they're disgusting, but also absolutely super awesome. Xandar. He doesn't understand, but he wants to. Zarana. She thinks trans people are the coolest and will never stop talking about them. Zanzibar. He wants to kill. He's a part of a lot of anti-groups. Destro. Absolutely, without a doubt. Breaking societal norms is metal, and he thinks trans people are super rad. Cobra Commander. He watches the news and asks, "Why are they doing that to themselves?" And you try to explain, and like 3 hours later, absolutely no ground has been broken, and it's just rinse and repeat. You know the type. Major Blood, I guess. Baroness. Destro's always trying to teach her, but she doesn't get it yet. She actually thinks Cher is trans. Firefly. He hates trans people specifically. Tomax and Zamet. Thinks transgender people is just a sexual thing. Is also totally into it. Bat, or B-A-T? I've never seen this guy before, but he's cool. I'm gonna say yes for me. Dr. Mindbender. He wants to study their corpses to see what's wrong with them. Serpentor. No! Absolutely fucking not. So that was the video. Thanks for watching. If you have any other suggestions, if you want me to say, like I didn't do a Transformers one, I could be like, Megatron would call me a